Hello everybody and welcome to Susan Stanley Stitch in Time. Today's episode is a continuation of the series A Very Fine Notion, and I've been talking about notions, antique notions, the last few episodes, and today, because of the upcoming holiday, trick-or-treat holiday, I wanted to share with you a few of my favorite things, notions, and quilts that are related to this theme. I hope you all are enjoying fall. It's chilly up here in the Pacific Northwest. We have a beautiful sunny day, and the rain is gone, but it's coming back. But it's blue skies and under 60 degrees, like 58, 57 degrees, my favorite kind of weather, favorite time of year. So welcome, and I'm going to talk about during this series antique notions and also repurposed notions. So today is a little bit of that, and then stick around at the end because I'm going to share with you some of my favorite things, my favorite notions. So the book I want to talk to you about today that just fits in perfectly with our theme is this adorable book by Betsy Chutchin. It's called Just Treats, No Tricks. And there are just, as always, a ton of adorable projects that Betsy's come up with. And I want to share the ones that I've made so far and encourage you to hunt this book down. I am hoping to have an Etsy site and have this book at some point in there for you to purchase, but in the meantime, I hope you can find it because it's full of lovely treasures. The first thing I want to show you is her adorable quilt called Bats, and this is what her version looked like. And as always with Betsy, she bases her quilts on an antique that she owns. And so in the book, there is also a picture of the antique. And this quilt, I would say, is not super difficult. This is actually the antique quilt she reproduced and called it Exquisite. So that's another one you can make. It's not difficult, and it's a fun way to showcase your holiday fabrics. So if you have, if you want to do it in this gorgeous color scheme, I say go for it. But I decided, because I love quilt history, I love the study of fabric, I love the study of dyes from the 1800s when they first became extremely prevalent, and when synthetic dyes came in, and the milling process during the Industrial Revolution started, fabrics changed and were available and color fast. So anyway, that's my passion, and down the road I'm going to share a lot about that with you too. But my version of her quilt Bats is done all in mourning prints. And so I wanted to showcase my collection, and my collection of mourning prints would not be complete without help from friends. I have lovely friends who love to swap fabric, so look at some of these yummy, they look like lace to me. So mourning prints were worn after, of course, someone passed and you were in mourning, and there were traditions all around mourning and what was proper etiquette to wear at different periods in the mourning process. And the Victorians really grabbed onto this concept and had high mourning, medium mourning, low mourning. There was a period where you'd have to wear all black. The dyes initially were toxic, but I'm going to tell you all about that in another video. For now, I just want you to see that it's a great way. You could, if you were making it for a child, you could put little Halloween faces, or you could do if you were doing it for a young child, you could do Sesame Street characters, anything, but it's just a great pattern. Super quick and fun. Okay. The next one that I made out of this book is called Moonlight Madness. And here's Betsy's version. Adorable, adorable. You can find that in the book. And I made mine into a square. I'll take these adorable shoes down. These were my husband's great-grandfather's. Are they so cute? All right. And that cute little guy my sister made. So here is my version of Moonlight Madness. And I called it Mini Trick or Treat. And it was just a really fun way to get some kind of that orange and black fall color scheme going on in my house. So I thought that's another thing out of her book. But probably my most favorite thing out of this book is something that ties in with what we're talking about. And it's a repurposing of something that Betsy found in an antique shop, or maybe, I think actually it belonged to her, someone in her family. And she repurposed it into the most adorable pincushion holder. And that is on page 38. And it's called Recycled Charm. And you can see Betsy's adorable version right there. Of course, with the trick-or-treat theme. And I want to show you mine because after I saw that, then I had to go on the hunt for this object that this pincushion was sitting in. And some of you might know right away what it is, but this is what the object looks like unaltered. Does anybody recognize that? It's something that's kind of ebbed out of fashion, but it's actually an ashtray with a little pocket here for matches. And I found two so far, and I hope to have more because I want to make these available to you on the Etsy site as well. These are really hard to come by, but I found one recently in this amber orange color. So that's why I had to share it with you. Now, if you can wash it up and get them all cleaned up. And then you just need to make a pin cushion that fits. This one happens to be something adorable that my sister made, punch needle. And that pops right in there. And then your scissors go in the back. So fun stuff. A way of repurposing an item that maybe isn't used for its original purpose as much anymore. And then, of course, behind me is a quilt that I designed called Harvest Treat. And it's simple and fun and fast to put together. It's just 4 patches and this triangular fabric setting option on the border. So that might be fun for you to make too someday. I'll hopefully write that up as a pattern in the future. All right, and then the last thing I want to show you is my fabulous sewing box, because I've had people ask me about my sewing kit, how I travel, and we'll talk about antique sewing kits and options, things that people have used over the years. They are sometimes as large as this and as complex as this. Sometimes they're much simpler. And everyone has their own way of organizing their sewing notions and sewing supplies. So this is what I like to use if I'm going to go somewhere and applique, if I'm stitching with a group, which unfortunately none of us have been able to do quite very much lately. I will take this, and I know I have everything I need in here. This beautiful shaker box was gifted to me by my mom, and it was made by 2 fabulous designers. I don't know if you can read that. It's the Suffolk Shaker Shop, and they signed it. And you can, this is over a couple of years old, and I can still smell the stain and the oils that they treated it with. It's just beautiful. It's an heirloom. It's something I will have forever and pass on to anyone in my life in the future who likes to sew. All right, so first thing, this is the first layer. And inside, of course, I have my glasses, because who can sew without glasses? Lucky people. And let's see, tilt this here. I am a sucker for every kind of notion and needle that comes out. I have to try it. I've worked in quilt shops over the years, and I like to be able to say, and I've taught, and I like to be able to tell my students and customers what I think. So I try everything. And these black gold needles, I find a little bit small for me because I'm pretty heavy-handed. I'm trying a new camera system and I'm not sure it's working, but let's see here. So those are in there. And then I have straw needles, Gina Kimball's straw needles. I have tulip needles. The needles that work the best for me because of my heavy-handedness are these Roxanne applique needles, and they're heavy steel, and they don't bend as easily. I can bend and break a needle like you wouldn't believe. So that's what's going on there. This top tray comes out so I can show you a little better. I have a needle threader that I like. I find with the Roxannes I don't need this as much, but it's there if I do. And then of course this adorable one that was gifted to me. You know, when you're in sewing groups, there's always fun little notion-y things to share with your friends. These are probably one of my favorite pair of scissors. They're Kai, and they're super sharp. They're great for threads. They're great for snipping off those little corners, flags on half square triangles. They're just, I love them. And they didn't come with this. I replaced them because I have a thing for red and I like polka dots. So there we go. And then I love, love, love these thimble pads. They're stick-on and they just go right there, right where you tend to push. And it helps prevent the needle from going up your fingernail. And I really, since I've used these, I have not had that happen. I fight with thimbles. I'm a challenged thimble user, but I do use them. And then this is a little thimble case I designed for a class, but it's just got a little pocket, and then I keep my extra pads in there, but I could easily keep a thimble in there as well. When we talk about thimbles, I'll share more of that information with you. Another pair of really nice snips if you need to get in there with applique, if you've got that concave, that V shape that you need to snip and just open up a little tiny bit. These are great. They're super sharp, fine point. They have they make a nice clean cut because that's what you want. You want a clean cut. I love these as well. These are serrated. I love scissors, can you tell? These are serrated and they're Elan. My dark sweater is not letting you see. I love these. So if you're cutting something in your applique and you need to, you don't want any threads, you want it clean and serrated, and it's a longer piece. That's what I use these for. I think someday I need to do an applique video. This was given to me in a class. He's my sewing buddy. His name is Mitch. We had fun that time. This is a pair of tweezers, Ginger tweezers. Now these are really great for pulling threads, you know, getting threads that are caught down in your sewing machine, but they're also really great when you're appliquing. If you have threads that are not behaving, you can use this or a toothpick to help push those threads under and get your shape clean and smooth. If you need to pull out a thread or a piece of, if you're doing starch with freezer paper, you need to pull that out. Sometimes this can help you get in under the edge. So I always keep those. I don't use them a ton, but they're there. My son gave me these. I love them. They're from Japan. I'm having a hard time remembering the company name, but I will get that to you if you're interested. They're great little snips. They're easy. They just, you know, and they come with this adorable little leather case. That was a great gift. And then this is something that I like. If I'm binding, sometimes I run into where the seam is doubled, you know, where you've attached two pieces together and the needle is kind of hard to get out. And sometimes I'm just not having, my hands are just not having a good day. So this helps pull the needle. It grabs the needle, you know, you pinch it almost like a hot mitt and pull it. So that's a great option. And then who could live without some kind of a marking tool? And this is a bohine marking tool. Sewline also makes one. I like bohine because, and it could be true with the Sewline as well, but I don't know for sure, but the bohine lead has ceramic in it. So it lasts a little bit longer as you stitch through. So if you've drawn your leaf shape for applique, or if you've drawn a line for quilting, this will last a little bit longer on the fabric. As you poke your needle through this, as it's drawn on the fabric, it dissipates. So I really like that. I really like this product. But I've used Sewline as well, and it works great. I'm just got my favorites. And then I'm not scared to use this water soluble pen on my quilts. I have it ingrained in my head that this can never be ironed onto the fabric. Once you've drawn this on the fabric, it must be taken out with water. But I have long armor friends who use this to mark designs, and they've been long arming since this came out, and they haven't had problems. I do think, personally, I think you need to take it out as soon as you can, like wash it out. So you don't want to mark a project and leave it for years, and I've done that. And then my favorite tool on the planet is my seam ripper, and I do have another beautiful seam ripper, which I'll show you when we talk about seam rippers. That was a gift, but this one by Clover is super sharp right in here, and you can run this along the threads like a little machine, and it will cut. If you have it at the right angle, it will cut the threads, and you're not picking one out at a time. You have to be very careful, because before I really understood the angle, we'll talk about that at some point too. I think that might be fun. I cut some of the fabric, but if you understand how to hold it and use the angle properly, you can just run it slowly along your seam, and it opens right up. And then I love these Karen K. Buckley pins. They are great for applique. They're great for hand piecing. They're super fine. They're almost like you're going to have surgery done or something, or have acupuncture done, because they're so tiny and so thin and so narrow. I use these orange peel sticks for prepping shapes, if I'm going to prep shapes for applique, but I also use them for smoothing edges. If I've stitched something down and there's just a little bump that I'm not happy with, and I don't want to take it out, or I want to try not taking it out and smoothing that, poking the threads under a little bit with this. If it doesn't work, then I take it out, but I like having that in my kit. Of course, a fabric eraser. This fabulous, adorable little needle minder my son also got me from the same place think this is called Cubano, the same company from Japan. It's a Japanese company. And then this is also a really cute little needle minder, another pin cushion, thimble pad, and then of course a trusty toothpick. And if I do a demo on applique, I'll show you how I use the toothpick. I've taken I love to learn techniques. I love to learn every technique out there because I find that having a bag of tricks helps you solve a lot of problems. And I don't try to limit myself to just one thing, one method. And so now I know what methods I like to use in general, but then for certain shapes there are different methods, and I'll share that with you sometime. And then of course, who can live without this? It's got the 3/8 mark, the 1/8 marks. It's just, and this one. So these are great for marking, hand piecing, or quilting. Okay, that's just the first layer. And the second layer, down there in the bottom. So this box holds a lot. I have some more of Gina Kimball's straw needles. I find to be lovely. This is a pin cushion I made for a class, but you can see kind of the black and brown, you know, antique theme going on. I love these little pins. I know people like to glue their applique down. There's all kinds of methods. I've just loved these for years. They're short. You can pull. I find that they're really easy to pull in and out of your project and in and out of your pin cushion. I have this because before waxers became really popular, you could wet this and glide your thread through it to kind of dampen any static, and that's when I lived in Tucson, Arizona, and it was really hot and dry. I don't use that as much now that I'm here in the Pacific Northwest. Now I use Thread Heaven to condition my thread before, and I don't always remember to use it, but I have it. And then for back basting or, well, this is hand quilting thread, but it's poly cotton, so I probably wouldn't use it to hand quilt, but I would use it for back basting because it's thread that's not my favorite in the world, but I don't want to throw it away. I have a purpose for it. Of course, everybody needs a tape measure, and we're going to talk about all these notions and the history of them at some point. This little handy dandy light, stand it down. Comes in handy up here because it's quite dark at times in the winter. I love, love, love these. These came out. These are Alex Anderson. They are filled with Superior Masterpiece thread. You could create your own if you would prefer a different thread. The featherweight bobbins fit perfectly in here. And so these come on paper, and there are certain colors that I use a lot, like red, green, and black, and brown. And so, of course, you have to refill it, and you can refill it easily with these featherweight bobbins, and they fit right into the donut. You can buy the donuts separately and make your own. I've seen people do this with wool threads, silk threads. If you love Gutermann, if you love Aurifil. So of course I had to get both. You can see the colors that I use and the colors that I may never use are there. And then last of all, I love this, This is a thread holder, a quilt dome. It's by Clover. And the way this works, sometimes your thread is not worth saving. And if you've run that thread through and it's starting to look burnished a little bit, the thread's gone in and out of the eye of the needle, don't save it. Throw it away. Start with a fresh piece of thread. You owe it to yourself to have a nice, strong piece of thread. But if you've just started a few stitches, or if you have this tiny little circle and you cut your thread a little longer than you needed and you want to save it, the way this works, see this little lip here? So you're going to slide the needle into that little, okay, and then you're going to put the thread through the lip, and then you kind of gently hold it down and you spin it, and now the thread is buried inside, and you can do that for up to 10 needles. So here's how this comes in handy. And I know there are other techniques that people use, but if you are going to be doing a ton of hand piecing or a ton of applique and you know you're going to be using green like mad, you can prepare 10 needles with thread, put them in here, and then go to your sewing group, and depending on how long you stay there, you might actually come home with some thread and needles left. But it's just nice to have just one little thing done ahead of time. So that's a little peek into my life and my world, and I hope you enjoy this beautiful fall time of year, and maybe you'll even get some treats coming your way, hopefully no tricks. And I hope to see you again. Keep checking back. If you want to know about when my next video is coming up, you can subscribe. There's a button down below. And if you don't, that's fine too. Just keep checking back. Eventually I will have an Etsy site with some of these antique and repurposed things for you to purchase if you want to start your own collection. So thanks for coming by. See you next time.